Projekt Guru.
Всем привет! С вами Zak Novak на радиостанции Novorossia Rocks. Welcome to Novorossia Rocks Radio Station. This is Zak Novak, your American in downtown Donetsk. The program is called Projekt Guru, and my producer, Guru, is in the house as always. My engineer, Andre. Let's get right to it. 2 civilians dead by mortar attack on civilian areas by the Ukraine junta regime. War crimes. 2 civilians perished during a mortar attack bombing of the Petrovsky district of Donetsk from the Kiev junta forces, according to the report by the DPR Defense Ministry. At 4:50 p.m. yesterday, late afternoon, 2 civilians perished in the Petrovsky district on Drosova Street 11. Due to bombing attack. The men of 55 and 58 years were killed instantly by the Nazi Kiev fighters. In regard to the data of the defense report, the mortar shelling was fired from the occupied town of Mariinka. It was earlier reported that the Nazi Kiev forces shelled DPR territories 570 times. Guru, listen to this, 570 times for the last 24 hours. Civilians and DPR soldiers were wounded. Full data and report on the shelling were given to the JCCC and OSCE. Once again, war crimes committed by the Ukraine junta regime. More news from DPR. Poroshenko and his junta military trying to strike fear in Donetsk with indiscriminate shelling of civilian areas. 1 civilian injured. War crimes as once again the Ukraine junta regime backed by the Obama administration indiscriminately bombed civilian areas. 1 injured man and homes destroyed. All summer long, as the free people of Donetsk Republic trying to enjoy their daily lives, terrorist organization NATO, along with its master, the Obama administration, and its Nazi puppet, the coup leader Poroshenko of Ukraine, have constantly tried to terrorize the 2 nations, the republics of Donetsk and Lugansk. But the people will continue to live their free lives, not to fear nor abandon their homes and country. The report is that a civilian man was heavily wounded late on Monday as Nazi Kiev forces shelled the western suburb of Donetsk and Yasinovata from heavy armaments, a law enforcement source in the Donetsk People's Republic told the Donetsk news agency. The Nazi Ukrainian side started shelling Yasinovata from 122 mil armaments at 8:30 p.m. local time. 3 hours later, Ukraine junta units shelled Staromihalovka from 152 mil weapons. A total of 117 artillery shells have been fired. The Nazi Ukrainian army also used 82 and 120 mil mortars, the source said. The villages of Alexandrovka, Trudovsky in western Donetsk, Pantelimonovka and Zaitsevo near Golovka, Krutaya Balka and Vasilievka near Yasinovata, Sakhanka, Leninskoye and Kominternovo in the southern DPR came under fire as well. 3 houses were damaged and a local citizen was hospitalized in Novozovsk with multiple shrapnel wounds, the sources said. Guru, more news, this time our sister republic of Lugansk attacked by the Nazi Ukraine junta forces, homes and buildings destroyed. There is no stopping the genocide, war crimes that is committed by the Poroshenko regime of Ukraine, which is backed by the Obama administration, along with weapons supplied by the terrorist organization NATO, all year long, especially the summer months when families are out and about trying to enjoy their daily lives. The Nazi Ukraine junta trying desperately to strike fear on the new young republic of Lugansk and its citizens. Parks and picnic areas full to capacity, shopping areas alive, food markets of all kind in full swing. It is the psychological warfare that the Poroshenko regime is using or trying to use on the Lugansk people. The problem is that no one is running away. The proud people of Lugansk are here to stay, and never will they be a part of the hatred of a nation such as the Ukraine regime with its fascist ideology. As reported, Nazi Kiev forces shelled Stakhanov east of Lugansk overnight, destroying a non-residential building and damaging 2 nearby houses, the People's Army of the Lugansk People's Republic said on Tuesday. The shelling was conducted at 4:30 a.m. from the direction of Popasne from 120mm mortars. Over the past 24 hours, the Nazi Kiev forces violated the ceasefire regime 8 times in the zone controlled by the People's Army. According to preliminary data, there are no injuries or deaths, the Lugansk Information Center reported. The previous shelling of Stakhanov occurred overnight to August 2nd. 3 people were wounded. Andre, listen to this. Once again, the graveyard of Soviet soldiers who defeated the Nazis has been vandalized by Polish thugs. The graveyard of Soviet soldiers in the Polish city of Kielce has been vandalized, according to the Polish press service. We were informed by a representative of the mayor's office yesterday that 5 tombstones were overturned and 3 more broken at the cemetery, spokesman Damian Janus said. The police documented evidence at the crime scene, questioned eyewitnesses, and is currently searching for vandals. Janus stressed that local authorities will promptly restore order at the cemetery and replace the broken tombstones. People do foolish things sometimes, but this time they have crossed certain borders, Kielce Deputy Mayor Czeslaw Gruzowski said. Monday's act of vandalism is not the first case at the graveyard of Soviet soldiers in Kielce. In June, several unidentified persons moved tombstones and pulled out information boards. The remains of Soviet soldiers who died around Kielce in battles with Nazis in 1945 are buried at the cemetery. The graveyard is often visited by the relatives of the fallen soldiers. Local authorities take care of the cemetery. We feel like these people, the Soviet soldiers, deserve something. One news portal quoted Gruzevsky as saying, "No one asked them to do this. They just took up arms and ousted the occupant. We take care of this cemetery with financial support from the government. We managed to fix the latest damages by ourselves, but this time we will have to ask the head of the Polish press service for help." Guru, listen to this. This by the CIA. Russians and Iranians must be killed. They have to pay a little price. This by the former fascist CIA director Michael Morell. Former acting Nazi CIA director Michael Morell said in an interview Monday that U.S. policy in Syria should be to make Iran and Russia pay a price by arming local groups and instructing them to kill Iranian and Russian personnel in the country. Morell was appearing on the Charlie Rose show on PBS in the wake of his publicly endorsing Hillary Clinton on the New York Times opinion pages. Clinton has expressed support for increased military intervention in Syria against Bashar al-Assad's Syrian government. Iran and Russia are backing Assad. What they need is to have the Russians and Iranians pay a little price, Morell said. When we were in Iraq, the Iranians were giving weapons to the Shia militia who were killing American soldiers, right? The Iranians were making us pay a price. We need to make the Iranians pay a price in Syria. We need to make the Russians pay a price. Morell said that the killing of Russians and Iranians should be undertaken covertly, Guru, so you don't tell the world about it. You don't stand up at the Pentagon and say, we did this, but you make sure they know it in Moscow and Tehran. You were right, Guru. Morell also proposed that the U.S. forces begin bombing Syrian government installations, including government offices, aircraft, and presidential guard positions. The former acting CIA director said that he wanted to scare Assad. Morell clarified that he wasn't actually calling for Assad's assassination. He compared his proposal to American support for groups that targeted Russian forces in Afghanistan during the 80s, efforts that later helped incubate al-Qaeda. He seemed unconcerned about how other parties might respond to such actions, beyond speculating that they might provide leverage for future negotiations. If put into effect, Morell's plans would entail a massive escalation of American covert military involvement in Syria that would bring the United States much closer to direct confrontation with Russia and Iran. Morell's endorsement of Clinton was quickly seen as a sign that he was interested in a role in a possible Clinton administration. He wrote that Clinton would be a highly qualified commander-in-chief and strong proponent of a more aggressive approach to the conflict in Syria. Morell told Rose that he had not discussed proposal to kill Russians and Iranian personnel in Syria with Clinton, though he believed she was supportive of efforts to gain diplomatic leverage. After leaving the CIA in 2013, Morell authored a memoir entitled The Great War of Our Time. The book was widely criticized for defending detainee torture in the post-9/11 era. Morell was also a co-author of the rebuttal to the Senate Intelligence Committee torture report. Last week, CBS announced that Morell had left his role as a network news analyst so that he could begin publicly supporting Clinton's run. During his interview with Rose, Morell continued to heap praise on Clinton's perspective on U.S. relations with Syria, Russia, and Iran. Guru, before I begin the next topic, major talks between Russian President Putin and his Turkish counterpart, President Erdogan. An amazing meeting to restore full-fledged relations, business ties, economic ties, and the Turkish stream. Everything coming into place, which is beautiful, great news. Also, Turkish President Erdogan elated and he thanked his Russian counterpart, President Putin, who called after the failed American-backed coup attempt. This we're going to talk about on Friday. So let's get right to it on the next topic. The Obama regime warns Turkey to back off on the threats and accusations over the failed coup. Since the failed military coup last month, U.S. relations with Turkey have been worsening consistently, with the Erdogan government harshly criticizing the fascist Obama administration at every chance, variously accusing the U.S. of not being supportive enough and at times accusing the U.S. of being secretly behind the coup. The State Department appears to be growing weary of this and has warned the Turkish government to back off the various threats and accusations against the United States surrounding the coup, saying they find Turkey's inflammatory rhetoric a serious problem. Turkish officials don't appear to be keen on backing away from the allegations, with pro-government newspapers accusing the U.S.-based Woodrow Wilson Center of being on the coup, and the Justice Ministry issuing a statement warning that the U.S. is risking bilateral relations by not handing over exiled cleric Gulen. Along with the Woodrow Wilson Center and U.S. generals, Turkish officials have also accused Gulen of being behind the coup and have demanded his immediate extradition. They have dispatched requests for extradition, but little to no evidence of Gulen's involvement. And that's become a huge issue as the U.S. appears unwilling to extradite Gulen outside of the traditional extradition hearing avenue, and Turkish officials have acted baffled at this, insisting that their status as a U.S. ally means the White House ought to take their word for it and hand over Gulen and whoever else, no questions asked. Hey everybody, as I stress always, be safe out there, be on alert. See you all on Friday. Bye-bye, folks.